You walked away, and in that moment the silence was not just an absence of sound, it was the loudest revelation that could exist. He never believed this day would come. He thought he'd always have you around, even without caring, even without appreciating you. But your absence was the mirror he had avoided his whole life. Do you see how this happens? While you were there, whole offering presence, warmth and truth, he couldn't see it. His heart was numb, believing that life would go on the same, without the risk of loss. But when you took that final step, when you chose to leave, his world shook. The realization hit like a delayed wave, but it was devastating. And it's at this moment that the harshest truth appears. People don't recognize the value of what they have until the absence becomes deafening. He who never knew how to express how essential you were now relives every detail, every gesture, every word of yours, as if it were a movie he can't turn off. Have you ever experienced this? Have you felt like someone only saw who you were after they lost you? If so, comment, "I needed to hear this." The deepest part of this experience isn't the abandonment itself. It's realizing that you have transformed. Because by walking away, it wasn't just him who lost. You gained. You gained clarity. You gained dignity. You gained the chance to feel your own worth pulsing in a new way. He now understands that time doesn't return, and this awareness weighs heavily. But for you, that weight has turned into lightness. It's as if you finally breathed without the shadow of someone who couldn't recognize your shine. You need to understand one thing. When you left, it wasn't just a physical distance. It was an energetic, spiritual break, felt in every invisible layer of his life. He felt as if he had lost not just a presence, but a sense of direction. No matter how hard he tried to hide it, the truth tore within him. You were the balance point that sustained the chaos disguised as normalcy. He realized something he never wanted to admit. Your presence had a silent weight, an invisible value that filled spaces he didn't even know existed. The routine seemed ordinary, the days the same until you were no longer there. Then every detail, once ignored, turned into absence. The absence of a voice, the absence of a gaze, the absence of someone who could perceive nuances that no one else noticed. And it is in that emptiness that memory begins to demand attention. He noticed how much he let slip away, how much you endured in silence, how much you adapted, believing that love could grow even without recognition. But now it is too late, and too late is not just a matter of time. It's a sentence that echoes in the soul of those who squandered opportunities. Have you ever noticed this in your own life? Have you seen how those who fail to take care of you in the present end up begging for fragments of the past when they lose their chance? This is the truth he faces now, and there is no possible escape. What's most striking is how brutally he came to this realization. It wasn't a sweet memory. It wasn't a common sense of longing. It was the pain of seeing the magnitude of the error. He tried to disguise it from others, tried to act as if he was okay, but deep down in his soul he knew. He lost something that doesn't repeat itself. He lost someone irreplaceable. And perhaps you still carry the marks of that departure, because no matter how much it was you who walked away, the decision wasn't light. It was a painful choice, heavy with sleepless nights, confusing thoughts and doubts that weighed like mountains. But at the same time, within that pain, a clarity was born that only those who traverse the abyss can understand. You learn to recognize yourself. You learn to value yourself. You learn that waiting for recognition from those who cannot see is condemning yourself to live in the shadows. And this perception, even though painful, was liberating. Now imagine what goes on inside him. Every morning, he wakes up feeling like something is missing. He revisits old conversations, recalling simple moments that once felt weightless. The coffee shared, the comfortable silence, the way you understood without needing to explain. And each memory comes with a suffocating regret. He tries to find in others what he lost in you, but he doesn't succeed, because it's not about replacing. It's not about recreating stories with different faces. It's about realizing that certain connections are unique, and when they break, they leave a void that no other presence can fill. This is where life demands its toll, not as punishment, but as an inevitable consequence. He believed you would always be there, even if he didn't take care of you. He thought you could endure one more time, one more silence, one more instance of neglect. But you couldn't, and your decision was the biggest shock of his life. And now he learns firsthand what the phrase means. You only realize the value when you lose it. But it's not just a phrase, it's a scar. It's a lesson that burns day after day. Have you ever felt this way about someone? Did you ever realize too late what you had in your hands? If so, write in the comments, "This has happened to me." But don't be mistaken, this lesson isn't just his, it's also yours. Because even though you were the one who left, the pain shaped you too. And what you take from this experience is something no one can take away. The ability to accept nothing less than you deserve. Your perspective is different now. You have become capable of seeing the signs you once ignored, the silence that wasn't peace but negligence, the empty words that weren't love but convenience, the broken promises that weren't mistakes but repeated choices. Today, if someone tries to get close to you without sincerity, you notice it right away. Your intuition has become sharper. Your heart is more alert. You no longer give in to the first pretty gesture. Now you know consistency is worth more than fleeting moments. True presence carries more weight than scattered words. And it is at this point that your life splits, the before and the after. Before, you believed that love was about enduring. After, you understood that love is also about being seen, recognized, and valued. He, on the other side, experiences the opposite. Before, he thought he would always have you, even without effort. After, he realized that nothing is guaranteed, that someone's heart is not a possession, it is care. And when that care is lacking, the heart leaves. This contrast is brutal but necessary. That's how life teaches, even if it is harsh. And you, who have walked away, are now the reflection of this living lesson. Now tell me, do you feel that this message speaks directly to something you have experienced? If so, share it with someone who also needs to realize this. You didn't immediately notice how much you grew by leaving. At first, it felt only like pain. The silence weighed heavy. The longing tightened. And for a moment, you even questioned whether you had done the right thing. But slowly, within the emptiness, something was born that had never bloomed before, the awareness of your own worth. He, on the other side, couldn't escape this contrast. While you learned to breathe without needing to shrink yourself, he suffocated in his own absence. Each memory became a knife. Each reminiscence turned into a mirror. And no matter how much he tried to pretend to be strong, it was clear that his world had lost its meaning. This is the paradox of absence. Those who leave find space to be reborn. Those who lose discover what they never knew how to hold on to. You began to notice things that had previously gone unnoticed. How much you used to concede. How much you accepted emotional scraps, believing they were enough. How much you dimmed your own light to fit into the narrow limits of his gaze. And now, looking from the outside, you ask yourself, how did I manage to live like this for so long? This is the revelation that transforms. It's not just about what you lost or what he lost. It's about what you discovered within yourself. The strength to rise up, the courage not to settle, the dignity to keep walking even in fear. He, on the other hand, lives in a desert of absence, of emptiness, of regret. He revisits old messages, saved photos, small memories that now carry the weight of eternity. He wishes he could turn back time, but he realizes time doesn't go backward. It only shows what should have been done. And you today understand that you don't have to cling to his lament, because life doesn't call you back to what once was. Life calls you to move forward, to grow, to expand. And that's exactly what you do. Do you know what's stronger in this process? It's realizing that you no longer need to prove anything. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to wait for someone to finally see who you are. You know, you recognize, you feel. And when this realization awakens, no one can erase it. He looks at you from afar and notices the difference. The sparkle in your eyes that wasn't there before. The lightness in your laughter. The posture that's upright, strong, unshakable. And that's when his pain increases. Because he didn't just lose you. He lost the chance to know the best version of you that was born only after you left. Have you noticed how life works like this? Those who didn't value you yesterday don't have access to your today. Those who squandered your presence don't deserve to be part of your rebirth. And as painful as it is, this is life's silent justice. Deep down, he knows there's no going back. He can try sending messages, look for ways to reconnect, make excuses, but none of that reaches what has already been broken, because you are no longer the same person, and it's this transformation that becomes the greatest barrier between you. However, don't get it twisted. Your evolution doesn't need to be revenge. You don't live to show him what he lost. You live to be whole within yourself. Life takes care of reflecting back to each person the consequences of the choices they made. It's at this point that you find peace, because you understand that you no longer need to carry guilt, weight, or resentment. You simply move forward. And moving forward is the greatest act of liberation that exists. Maybe somewhere inside you, there still exists the sweet memory of what was good. And that's perfectly fine. No one needs to erase the past to honor the present, but you don't go back. Not because you feel nothing, but because you've learned to feel everything, including your own dignity. And him? He gets lost in memories, wishing he had realized it sooner. But he didn't see it. He didn't recognize what he had in his hands. And now he lives with the weight of too little, too late. If this resonates deeply within you, comment, "This is my story." Now look at yourself. See how far you've come. Notice how each step away was also a step back to yourself. See how his absence created space for your presence to flourish. And realize you didn't lose, you gained. You gained clarity, you gained awareness, you gained life. This is the hidden secret behind the pain. What seemed like an end was in fact a beginning. What seemed like a loss was liberation. What seemed like solitude was a reunion. And no matter how hard he tries, there's no turning back on what has been learned. Awareness once awakened cannot be erased. You recognized your own worth. And now, nothing less than that will be accepted. Have you noticed how life has a strange way of revealing truths? While you were present, it seemed like nothing was changing. He believed he would always have the same chance, the same comfort, the same patience. But the moment you stepped away, everything shattered irreversibly. He now walks through days as if searching for something he no longer knows where to find. Because what he seeks is not in the world, not in someone else, not in distractions. It's in you, and you are no longer there. Interestingly, when you left, he didn't immediately realize the gravity of it all. He thought it was just another separation, that you would eventually return, like so many times before. But no, this time, the silence was definitive. And in that silence, he found the greatest mirror of life. Do you remember when you still believed you could save him? When you gave yourself completely, hoping that he would finally see who you were? That time is behind you, because today you understand. It's not your mission to convince anyone of your worth. Those who don't see it for themselves will never see it through persistence, and that's exactly what he didn't expect. He got used to you always being there. He believed that love would be eternal even without effort, but eternity only exists where there is care, and care was absent. Now, each night is a memory. Each silence is a burden. He wonders why he didn't act differently, why he didn't appreciate you before, why he didn't say the words he held back. But questions don't bring you back. Questions merely erode slowly the heart of those who let it slip away. You on the other side breathe a sigh of relief, not because the pain has disappeared, but because it no longer binds you. The pain has transformed into learning, the learning has turned into strength, and the strength has become light. Today you look back and realize, if you had stayed, you would have stayed small, you would have stayed invisible, you would have continued begging for something that would never come. But you chose to leave, and your choice opened doors that were closed inside you. He, unaware, taught you by contrast. He showed you what you no longer want. He showed you what you will no longer accept. He showed you that your life deserves more than halves, and maybe that's the greatest hidden gift amidst the pain. You discovered yourself, not because he knew how to love you, but because he didn't. Have you thought about that? Have you noticed that sometimes the person who didn't know how to care for you is precisely the one who pushed you toward your awakening? If this makes sense, write down below, "I realize that now." Life has a quiet justice. He now feels the absence he never believed he would. And you feel the lightness you never thought you would find. The weight has shifted. The scales have turned. And each of you carries today what you have built. It's not about revenge, it's not about punishment, it's about consequence. Every choice brings with it an inevitable outcome. He chose not to see. You chose to leave. And the fruits of those choices are visible in every detail of the present. Now you no longer need to look back, because everything you needed to learn is already within you. And no matter how hard he tries, nothing can erase the transformation that began when you walked away. The most beautiful part is that, in this process, you haven't lost your ability to love. On the contrary, you have learned to love more fully, more consciously, more clearly. You have learned that true love doesn't require you to erase yourself. True love doesn't ask you to beg. True love doesn't demand that you accept less than you deserve. This understanding changes everything. It changes the way you see yourself. It changes the way you see others. It changes how you choose to move forward. He, in the meantime, remains trapped in memories, in regrets, in unspoken words, trapped in the echo of your absence, and perhaps he will never be free. Maybe this will be the mark he carries for the rest of his life. The memory of losing what he will never find anywhere else. But you move on. You move on without needing to look back. You move on knowing that your journey no longer depends on someone who couldn't recognize you. You move on because the path has opened, and you have finally learned to trust your own steps. This conversation doesn't end here. In the next video, I'll take you even deeper. Come with me.